Enfold Proactive Health Trust, Creating Safe Spaces, presents Demystifying Sexuality, a video series. What are restorative practices? What happens in a restorative circle? Presented by Arlene Manoharan, Co-Head, Restorative Practices, Swagata Raha, Head, Restorative Practices, Shivangi Puri, Social Worker and Facilitator, Neeth D'Souza, Facilitator, Restorative Practices, Sexuality and Personal Safety Educator, Pavitra H., Restorative Practices Facilitator.
Hello, and in true Indian tradition, Namaste. Restorative practices are a set of practices that emphasize the importance of building and repairing relationships in order to foster more caring and transformative communities. They help enhance social and emotional learning and strengthen connections among participants, deepening a sense of connection and belongingness. Connection, after all, is the essence of what it really means to be human. These deeper connections then help prevent interpersonal harm and even serve as a foundation for a restorative response to harm or conflict when it arises within the community, rather than a retributive one. Restorative practices are fairly old and can be traced back to indigenous communities like the Tagish and Tlingit in Canada, the Maori in New Zealand, the Navajo Nation, Sioux, and Great Plain Indians, among others. Local and tribal communities in India have also come together since the ages to share stories, to celebrate, as well as solve local problems and to address harm, either when a conflict arises or a crime is committed. In modern times, elements of indigenous practices have been used and adopted in different parts of the world to address such harm, and this is more commonly known as restorative justice. What is meant by restorative justice? Restorative justice is any process in which the victim, the offender, and or any other individual or community member affected by a crime actively participates together in the resolution of matters arising from the crime, often with the help of a fair and impartial third party. Examples of restorative process include mediation, conferencing, conciliation, and sentencing circles.
Under the restorative justice process, crime is viewed not as a violation of law, but as a violation of people and interpersonal relationships. The current legal system is focused on what law was violated, who violated the law, and how should they be punished. Victims are not central to the process and have little or no opportunity to express their needs, the impact of the harm, ask questions, or seek an apology. In the restorative justice approach, one would ask three very different questions. Who has been harmed? What do they need? And whose obligations is it to meet those needs? Justice would require bringing the person harmed, the person who caused the harm, and community members together in a voluntary process to collectively decide what is needed to put things right and move forward. Survivors and their needs are central to the restorative justice process. The process also creates a safe space for persons who are responsible for the harm to take responsibility without shaming them. Several studies have demonstrated that restorative justice processes have been effective in reducing reoffending by young people and provided greater satisfaction to victims as compared to the criminal justice system. It has provided an opportunity for survivors to talk about their feelings and the impact of the crime on them, ask about the why and the how of the crime, receive an apology, feel heard and validated, and attain a sense of closure. For adolescents and young people who caused harm, and voluntarily participated in the processes, it gave them an opportunity to understand the impact of their actions and receive support to take steps to redress the harm.
What is meant by restorative circles? A peacemaking circle is a way of bringing people together in which everyone is respected, everyone gets a chance to talk without interruption, participants explain themselves by telling their stories, and everyone is equal. No person is more important than everyone else. The restorative circle is a form of community-based restorative practice, which enables the use of value-based dialogues between a set of people seated in a circle to help build, strengthen, and to even repair and heal relationships. Circles enable participants to co-create and foster a welcoming, safe space that is collectively owned, enabling them to authentically share their feelings, life stories, fears, vulnerabilities, strengths, and also the hurt and the harm they may have experienced or caused. The feeling of being provided the opportunity to exercise one's sense of agency and make one's voice heard, to be listened to empathetically without judgment, supports emotional expression and even a spiritual experience for those inclined. This deepens the sense of connection and belongingness, which in turn nurtures and nourishes the recognition of a shared humanity, cutting across social barriers and hierarchies. Participants draw strength, support, and wisdom from one's own and each other's lived experience and insights. Restorative circles could be facilitated in any setting. Enfold's Restorative Practices team has partnered with Innisfree House School, Bangalore, since 2019, a pioneering initiative involving the training of teachers and subsequently the facilitation of restorative circles among teachers and by teachers with students. Every week, students and teachers sit in a restorative circle and use it to connect with one another and learn life skills through sharing stories from their own lives. According to the teachers, the practice of restorative circles at Innisfree House School enabled the creation of a safe and comfortable space for students to express unpleasant feelings, build relationships, identify conflicts, and learn how to resolve them in a way that made them more empathetic and respectful towards each other. The restorative circles became a vehicle to address difficult issues like emotions, conflict, name-calling, consent, regret, and anger, and offer a space for children to learn from the experience of their peers. The Enfold team also facilitates community building circles in childcare institutions under the juvenile justice system, some of them online as well. Through these circles, we have attempted to foster social and emotional learning by exploring themes like recognizing one's own strengths, interpersonal relationships, managing emotions, dealing with conflict, problem solving, gender, and many others. In a circle on happiness and empathy, a group of boys alleged to be in conflict with law shared about a time they felt happy, and also a time when they felt happy, but it also caused harm or difficulty to another person. In circles on anger, children were able to recognize emotions and their unmet needs and feelings underlying anger. They were then also able to share and learn from each other various skills and strategies that could help them cope with and regulate their anger. Restorative circles can also be used to facilitate the restoration and reintegration of children living in childcare institutions with their families and communities. These reintegration circles enable the child to recognize and use internal resources, rebuild relationships with family members and others in the community, and support the child's transition from life in the institution to that outside. Healing circles and support circles enable participants to identify needs, demonstrate empathy, and share in the pain of a person or group of people who have experienced trauma or loss, contributing to their healing process. Harm circles could be used to address specific instances of conflict and harm, involving the parties concerned, the person harmed, the person who is responsible for the harm, and representatives of the community. The person who has caused the harm is required to first acknowledge the harm done without any compulsion. Parties then come together, share, discuss, understand the harm caused, the impact of that harm, and how it can be repaired in a respectful and empathetic manner. Accountability, responsibility, and healing of all participants remain the cornerstone of this process, enabling everyone to move forward in a good way. This is an advanced form of circles and requires suitable training to facilitate. For more information about restorative practices, do reach out to Enfold Proactive Health Trust Bangalore. We would love to circle up with you. How have children responded to circles? Here is some feedback from students at Innisfree House School, Bangalore. Circle is a place where you know a safe space to share stuff, a fun way to get to know people and to get things off your chest. This is another student of class 9. The circle brought the class closer, and it helped many people to solve their problems, understand their mistakes, become a group, and stand with each other. This was a student of class 7. We have become more considerate about others' feelings and think about what we would feel if we were in their position. So before saying anything, we think about it. This was a student of class 7. And here is some feedback from children residing in childcare institutions. There is no judgment. We can speak from the heart. Our opinions are respected and valued. We feel heard and listened to. We can share our problems and sadness. We become open-minded when we hear everybody. All are equal. I learned to control anger. I learned how to make myself feel better when I'm feeling sad.
Turning to one another. There is no power greater than a community discovering what it cares about. Ask what's possible, not what's wrong. Keep asking. Notice what you care about. Assume that many others share your dreams. Be brave enough to start a conversation that matters. Talk to people you know. Talk to people you don't know. Talk to people you never talk to.
Yeah, so for today's talking piece, I'm using this. Um, Pavitra, do you want to share?
Yes. Its name is Poppy. I got it from the girls' home. When is my last working day? That day children gave me by wishing my future. I felt very happy for that. Yeah, this is the story of Poppy.
We'll use the talking piece so each person gets a chance to talk. Everybody gets an opportunity to share, and we can hold on to something while we are talking and sharing. So um, before jumping into the questions, we can all share how we're feeling right now. And yeah, I'll go first. Yeah, I'm slightly anxious. Um, I Yeah, but I'm really glad to have come back to Bangalore and just to a new city and like a new change of perspective. So I'm glad about that.
I'm feeling really a deep sense of calmness and happiness, actually, just sitting with each one of you again. We've been online so much and just cracking our jokes and talking about recipes and the stuff that we normally do in person and in circle is just so beautiful. So I'm feeling really calm and happy.
Today's been a fun day. Like, I think we've been planning this for a while and going back and forth. So it's good that we're making it happen in this way. Yeah, and it's great to be in circle with everybody.
Yeah, so to feel safer in the circle, we are going to put forth a few things so that we can share from our hearts and we can speak openly. And I'm going to pass the talking piece around, and each one of you can add one thing or two if you want that you would require from everybody here so that you feel more safe to speak and feel safe to share. So for me, what I would really want is a lot of patience, patience as well as acceptance, which I mean, I have a lot of confidence in all of you to do that. So yeah, I want patience and acceptance.
I would want speak from the heart as a value in today's circle. I would like to have the value of deep listening.
I would like to add respect.
So the values that we have today are all of ours, and we will all try and keep them up. And if we feel like something is not going the way we are comfortable with, we can always say something about it. The question for the circle is: what have you learned from your work in restorative practices for your own life, and how have you applied that in your life?
I have learned through sitting in the circles. So one is that it can be used anywhere. Just the other day, I was traveling with a few people in the car, and an argument broke out, and we were approaching a break. So we for a coffee, we stopped the car. We had we had this circle, a quick round of each one of us sharing how we felt about that argument and about the argument itself, and got back into the car, and it was a beautiful journey. So I think that something is so powerful. That is one. And second thing is, feeling equal among each other. So I've always had this problem about hierarchy, structure. How should I behave? Should I talk? Shouldn't I? But that circle has taught me so much. Listening and also talking, and these two I really take away from the circle learnings every time I go into every circle.
While sitting in the circle, I learned equality. It will there in the circle, and everyone treated equally. That helps a lot to the individual to share their perspective openly. When they speak openly, they get space to share what is there in their hearts, and they feel more comfortable. And I attended so many circles. In that, I understood that the participants were really get very good space to share everything, and once they share, they express their happiness, and they feel calmed and relaxed. They never get space anywhere to share all those things what happened in their life, and once they express the I'm very happy to see the happiness which is there in their face.
If I look at my journey of circles, my very first circle, and the space that I got to process my own trauma and my experiences. So I think I really experienced the healing power of a circle. And I do so. Like, I think every circle that I sit in, especially the ones that are deep and the kind of sharing that happens, it helps me process experiences which maybe I have buried or I have chosen not to engage with. Uh, but I would say that it's a good thing that it does come out, because then it helps me make sense of it and also do certain things to move forward. And I completely agree with Neith. I think, circles are possible anywhere and everywhere. And I know that I've used it in classrooms where I've taught courses and used, like a check-in just to build connection with students. Otherwise, as we know, I mean, as soon as the bell rings, things get started. You really don't have much time to build any kind of connection. So it's such a wonderful way to build connection through the check-in question. So I think there's definitely a lot of learning, personally as well as professionally, how it is important to even check in with each other. And many a times we don't get the time to do that. But the day that we do, I think there's a difference in the way in which our meeting goes. That we are able to check in and see how each one is doing. So yeah.
Let's do a checkup. How are you feeling now? I will start now. I am feeling happy, and I'm feeling learned something.
Yeah, I'm feeling energized.
I'm feeling deeply connected.
Thank you all for sharing. We'll do closing. The dedication of a virtuous act for all beings is like adding a drop of water to the ocean. As long as the ocean exists, the drop of water exists. So, do a small positive action when directed toward the benefit of all beings will endure forever. Said by Buddha.
This video is part of a series of videos and learning content aimed at addressing gender-based violence. These videos provide practitioner perspectives by professionals and experts in the field. We hope these videos generate further discussions with peers, family members, and teachers, encourage curiosity, and seed further research ideas in these domains. We gratefully acknowledge the following for their support: Gaurav Krishna, Keshav Rajendran, Ishwar Shankar, Mohan Ram, Clockwork Captions, Enfold Consultants, Ford Foundation. The copyright and other intellectual property rights in respect of this video belong exclusively to Enfold Proactive Health Trust, Enfold. Enfold licenses this video under the terms of Creative Commons License CC BY-NC-ND 4.0, the details of which can be found at https://creativecommonslicense.org/licenses/by-NC-ND/4.0/. Any use or reproduction of this video contrary to or in violation of the terms of the aforesaid Creative Commons license will be illegal, and Enfold reserves the right to take suitable action in respect thereof. Enfold also reserves the right to modify, terminate, or revoke the license granted as aforesaid, or otherwise exercise any and all rights in respect of its intellectual property without further notice, and the same shall be binding on the licensee or user or reader thereof. June 2021. Enfold Proactive Health Trust. www.enfoldindia.org. Contact info@enfoldindia.org. +91 99 000 94251. www.enfoldindia.org.